Hello everyone, and welcome to this tutorial where we are going to be learning all about PlayerPrefs inside of Unity. We are also going to be creating a little demo scene just like this, where we can input two values like 24 and DOM laps. Click this save button to save it to our computer. Then we will be able to delete these values so that there is nothing there. Click load, and then those values will pop right back up. To start off with this tutorial, we are going to create some things in the UI section. So inside of the hierarchy, let's create and click and create an empty game object. We can name this player for right now, but if you have a player inside of your game, you do not have to create an empty game object, just make sure that you have your player inside of your game. And then we're going to create the save and load canvas. This would most likely be a pause canvas if you have one, so that when you push escape or something, the game stops and you're able to save and load your game. But if you don't have one, you can make one right along with me. We're going to right click in the hierarchy, go to UI, and then at canvas. I'm going to zoom out to the canvas, and then I'm going to put a few things on here. First, I'm going to put a UI button, and then this button I'm going to name the save button, so we can save all of our values. And then I'm just going to make this save button a bit bigger, move it to this corner, and then change the text to save. I already have TextMesh Pro imported inside of this game, so if you don't, you are going to have to import that if you want to use that, but I have it already imported. This save button, I'm going to duplicate it and move it all the way over to here, and then I'm going to rename it the load button, and this is going to be, we're going to load our game. This is going to be when you open up your game on maybe the main menu, you can click load and play, and you can load your last save of your game in so that you don't have to start over every single time. I'm also going to change the text input from save to load, and then I'm going to want a few little texts down here just so we can see our values. So I'm going to do a UI text, and I'm going to make this text name coin text, and then I'm going to duplicate the coin text and move it right down. And I'm going to rename this player name text, because those are the two values that we are going to be using right now. I'm going to be making coins and the player's name, but if you're making a real game, then you would use values such as the player's health, player's coin amount, position, things like that you would like to use inside of your PlayerPrefs. So what we can do is go down in the assets folder, create a C# script, and we can name this our save script, so that we know that this is the script that we will use to save all of our items. And then we can double click on the script to open up in our choice of coding editor. Once we are in our code, yours would look something like this. I'm going to go here to the top and create a few public variables. The first one is going to be a float, and this is going to be player coins. This is going to be the amount of coins the player has. I'm also going to create a public string, and this is going to be player name. And this is going to be the name of the player that they can enter so that the player can have a little bit of their own self inside of your game. But if you have other things like player health, you can either create a new script like this and get references to them inside of your other scripts, or just copy and paste this script into other scripts that have your things. So if you have a script just for your player health, you can have a save and load buttons for that inside of your player health script. We're not actually going to use the start and update methods, so we can just delete those. We're going to create a few public methods. The first one is going to be a public void, and the name is going to be the save game session method. And the save game session method, what that's going to do is it's going to save all of our data. The game session is the game that's running right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in PlayerPrefs. Remember, that is the player preferences, or the things that we want to save over more game instances, dot set float, because you need to put set and then a return type like float or string, and then parentheses. It's going to look for a key and then a value. The key is a string, so inside of that I'm just going to type coins. If you're doing health, you would put health there. If you would put position, you could put position. stuff like that. And then for the float, I'm going to put in player coins. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the player name. So I'm going to do PlayerPrefs dot. This time I'm going to do dot set string because I have a string as my player name and not a float. This one I'm going to put name, and then I will type player name. And this is all saving our data to a little thing on our computer so that even when we restart our computer or we X out of Unity, we are able, and these things are going to stay on our computer, and the next time we play our Unity game, they will still be there. We're going to want to create another public method. So this one's going to be a public void load game session. And this does exactly what the method name is. It's going to load all of our data and put it back inside of our name and coins. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our player coins equal to our player prefs dot get float, and then this PlayerPrefs dot get float, this you have to set it to a variable, and I'm setting it to our player coins amount, and this only looks for a key because we're not setting it, we're just only looking for it. And since the key I had was coins, I'm going to put that in there. Make sure that when you are doing your keys, you spell them right, because if you do not spell them right, then it will not work and you won't get an error, so you probably won't know it's wrong. Next, we're going to do our player name. So we can do player name equals PlayerPrefs dot get string, and then the thing I did was name, so I'm going to type name and then get this in here. If you wanted to do something that when you start up on the game, it loads your game session, then you can go inside of your start method and then call the load game session method. I'm not going to do that because I have a button for that, and if you have like a main menu or something, the play button would also load the game session so that we're able to play. But if you are just making a sample game like I am right here, you could probably do that. One more thing before we go into the Unity editor, we're actually going to want to make our update method come back, so we can just type private void update, and then inside of here we're going to have to type a few more things because we want our player coins and player name to be updating on the texts that we made inside the canvas earlier. So up at the top I'm going to type using TM Pro, and this is just the Text Mesh Pro. If you don't have that, then you can just use the Unity engine, but since I'm using Text Mesh Pro, I'm going to import TM Pro. Up the top, I'm going to create a public Text Mesh Pro UGUI, and then I'm going to name this coins text. I'm going to create another public Text Mesh Pro UGUI, and then I'm going to name this one name text, so that we know that these coins and the names are for these texts. And then inside of the update method, I'm just going to set coins text dot text equal to player coins. But it's going to give me an error here because player coins is a float and we're trying to set it to a string. So what we're going to do is we're going to type dot to string and then parentheses, and then our error will go away. Next, we're going to do our name text dot text equal to our player name. We don't actually have to type toString here because player name is already a string, and then it's looking for a string and we're giving it a string, so it's not going to give us any errors. Now we can go back to our Unity editor. Now that we're in inside of our Unity editor, we're going to go to our player game object or your player game object inside of your game, and then I'm going to add the save script game object to it. It's going to look for the coins text and name text. We can just drag those in from inside the canvas we have up here. And then for right now, the player coins and player name, I'm going to leave those blank because we can put them inside of the inspector and then click save and load so we can save and load them. Now before we push the play button, there's one more thing that we have to do. We're going to go to our save button, scroll all the way down, and then this on click, we're going to click this plus button, drag in the player for this object, and then inside of the no function, go to the drop down, save script, and this is the save button, so I'm going to click save game session. And then that means when this button is clicked, it will call the save game session method. I'm going to do the same for the load button. Click plus, drag in the player, and then for the function, save script, and then load game session. Now, once this is done, we can save and click play to see our game. Once we are inside of play mode, we can see that our texts are displaying 0 and nothing, and that is because when we click on our player, and we can see that our player coins is 0 and our player name is nothing. The player coins, I'm going to put something like 10 right now, and the player name, I'm going to put something like Jim. So that's the name and that's the amount of coins. Now I'm going to click save, and then this 10 and Jim has been loaded into our computer. So if I delete 10 and if I delete Jim from this, go back to this and click load, it loads our coins and name back up. And then if I wanted to change the coins to something like a very large number, something like that, and the player name to something like just one letter, let's say T, I'm gonna click save. And then if I put this back to 10 and Jim, click load, it changes our things again. And you can just see how very powerful this is. This is such a good concept that is pretty good for most things. This PlayerPrefs can be used for small games and the player names and the player coins and something like that. It can also be used for player preferences inside of the settings menu, like their volume or resolution settings. But if not, then this tutorial is finished. I hope you learned something from this tutorial, and if you did, please make sure to give our channel a like and a subscribe, and comment down below if you like this video. Thank you!